Lady Danielle and Raquel SSG. And we have Maura Kitty with us. And meow. And we're going to talk about episode 3 and 4 of the Santa Clauses season 2. And it's episode is called, for episode 3, No Magic at the Dinner Table. No magic at the dinner table. That makes sense. I mean, like like pass the salt and just floats by the table. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I feel bad for the poor mom. Everybody's all magical and she's feeling left out.
I know, that must be really frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was always afraid having a teenager would be like that. I was like, so far it seems to be okay. We're not out of the woods yet, but I'm just saying.
For now.
Right? We're not out of the woods yet. But so far it's okay. I mean, she's like going to be 17 next May and like everything seems all right.
Nice.
She's not on a lot of drugs or anything. I'm just kidding. She's on drugs. She's not. I'm just joking. Well, I emphasize not a lot to indicate some. I'm only kidding though. We're all too broke for that shit.
All right. The Santa Clauses season 2, episode 3 and 4. Episode 3, No Magic at the Dinner Table.
Yes. And we have the Santa, who is played by one of the spicy guys in
Modern Family.
Yeah, the thicker guy. If nobody watches that show, then I don't know what to tell you. Because I hardly ever watch it, but I know of it. And I've watched it before. Mostly on TikTok.
Why is that going to the scene?
I don't know.
Oh, come on now.
Uh-oh. That's strange.
That's strange, yeah.
Well, refresh it, see if it helps.
Yeah, I'm refreshing it.
Patience.
All right, that was weird. I want to go to the scene.
Huh. Well, I guess we'll skip over that.
All right. Hopefully, I refreshed it. Maybe it'll do it now. So, we're at Chicago, Illinois, with the Mad Santa, or Madness Inctus, as he called. So he's trying to command his cane to come to him right here.
Apparently, he's lost a little of his power.
By using the Yule, the power of Yule. But nothing happens. By the power of Yule, I command thee, he says, Cain, come hither now. Nothing happens. He's like, I meant now. Nothing happens. And like Olga's like telling some marks on the door. Or the side of the door.
Yeah, I always saw that for a split second. I think she's marking how long they've been there.
Right.
The only I could guess.
Or how many attempts he has been trying to get this.
Oh my god, that might be what she's doing. That's right.
Yeah, how many attempts he's been trying this to command his cane.
His magic is shooting blanks right now.
Right. And nothing happens. She drops the knife in frustration, saying we are getting nowhere. It's been 3 months. And his magic still hasn't come back. So it's been 3 months at this point. And he's still is not getting any of his magic back.
What I find flabbergasting is there 3 months, and somehow there's still people going to that Santa world. I'm like, they do this all year round?
I guess so. It is kind of bizarre.
Because I just now thought of that, and I'm like, wait a minute, that's strange.
Yeah. That is bizarre. You think it'd be closer to like around after Halloween? You know what I mean?
Right, exactly. Like that's gotta cost money to run that theme park. So it's like,
yeah,
who is showing up for this?
We're in the first 2 episodes, the son is saying, the son who owns the Santa Paula's theme park, Chris, said his dad is helping keeping this theme park afloat.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it takes bills to have the electricity going and having them run that. So I'm wondering why they have customers at weird times of the year going to this. Seems
right. That's really bizarre.
That's some weird shit to me.
Right.
I mean, unless it's some small, like some middle of nowhere place and they have nowhere else to go hang out.
Right. So it's been 3 months. His magic still hasn't come back. And man said just like, no, I saw it Twitch on that one. Okay, it's like, you definitely did not. We're no closer to smiting our enemies than we were when we awakened this sag purgatory. Oh.
It breaks the cane and gets mad and leaves.
Yeah, she takes the cane and breaks it over her knee. Like, dang, that's a strong gnome.
Right? Yes, he is Slobberjaw?
Yes. Hey, Slobberjaw, how are you? Yes, this is Tim Helen. This is like back in my childhood, from the original movies, like the first Santa Claus movie, a second Claus movie, and the third Santa Claus movie. Now we got a TV series.
Can't believe that was in your childhood. God, I feel old. Jesus.
Yes, definitely watch it.
Yeah, I think it's on Disney Plus.
It's on Disney Plus, but if you don't have Disney Plus, there's other ways you can go around it, though.
Yeah, there's a website that you can. I don't know if I haven't looked to see if the show's on it, but probably it is. Like,
yeah, I watched the first two all the time. Not too familiar with the third. You definitely watched the third one then. I enjoyed it.
I'll write the website in there. I have to write it carefully because, like, when I have tried to drop that link for that website where you can see movies for free and everything, that like a lot of platforms think it's spam, so it won't.
Right.
So I have to kind of like.
Yeah, probably the same site I've been watching Vash the Stampede on. Ha 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 ha. Good anime series.
There it is. So I just, like we have .com. It's .sx for the B-flicks.
Not right on. I'm 34 and I finally decided to finish Vash the Stampede after all these years. Oh, really? Then we're the same age. How wild.
I'm gonna have to look that up because like that name sounds super familiar.
It's a 90s anime series.
I'll have to see it.
More. That's the exact site I use.
Oh, nice. Perfect. Nice. All right.
Perfect. That
Vash. The Stampede. Let's see what he look like. Oh, okay. That's who Vash the Stampede. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Trigun. Oh, okay. I just call him Trigun because
Trigun.
Yeah, that's all I call him. I didn't know his name was Vash the Stampede, or I forgot it. Like, obviously, I've heard the name. I just
always watched Vash on TV, but they never aired it in order. LOL. What? Don't you hate that?
I do. It drives me nuts.
Love Trigun. Sorry. No worries. I know what you meant.
I never really watch anime, but that was one I had seen a couple of times, and I thought it was cool because it always has like a little kitty cat popping up, and I'm a fan of kitty cats, obviously.
I always call it Vash. LOL.
Oh, that works. I mean, if someone says Vash Stampede, generally they'll know. Like, I knew it sounded familiar. I had to check. I was like, yeah, there we go. I put a face with the name and all that.
So back to the TV.
Yes.
Santa Claus. So
yeah, he's having a tough time here.
Yeah, he's having a tough time with his trying to get his magic back. I'm wondering if him being trapped in the Nutcracker somehow nullified his magic powers.
No, I don't know because he had magic powers when he came out. Oh,
did he? I don't think so.
I thought he had some like.
No, I didn't see him using magic. It was the only thing of magic that I already saw. It was the snow globe magic touching the Nutcracker, and that's how he escaped from his imprisonment from the confinement of the Nutcracker. I didn't see him use any magic.
trying to remember if he did. Shit. I thought he did. I don't remember now. Shit.
No worries, Flowerjaw. So Olga's like frustrated, like, you know, she said you definitely did not make the cane move. We're no closer to smiting our enemies than we will wake in this sad purgatory. So she thinks that she's in purgatory, which is ironic. And Matt says, like, I used to sit on a grand throne clad in ice, and now I rest my bottom on a bag of beans.
Poor thing.
I thought, like, the bag of beans sounds more comfortable than sitting a throne that's clad in ice.
Well, I think it's supposed to sound creepy, kind of like the Addams Family. They like creepy stuff or uncomfortable stuff. They think it's nice. Like maybe that's his thing.
Or sounds tough.
Yeah, that.
Yeah. And Madison is like, convinced his magic will return, and he will hold vengeance, just like hold my cane. Commands the cane again, but nothing happens. But she broke the cane. She broke the cane. It's not going to come to you now.
You had to call it twice, I guess. Both pieces.
She tried to command the cane like 3 times. You know, Olga got frustrated. She breaks it over her knee. She's like, enough of this. Let's see if I can get it. Let's see if I can get it.
And they're still trying to investigate and figure out what's happened with the Nutcracker, and they're not finding it out. The elves are secretly kind of guessing as to what's wrong, but they don't want to tell Mrs. Claus just yet. So everybody's keeping shit from everybody. So there's that.
Right.
Oh, he's having some sort of fracture psychosis thing going on because his girl or his wife or whatever left, and I think it's wife because I remember talking about a honeymoon.
No, mate Betty went to Cribble Crabble to get some real life experience in the weird world. And he obviously is missing her, and he is, well, Santa Scott appointed Noel as head elf, and the pressure's getting to Noel.
And he's running around with like a stick figure with Betty's face on it, like a picture of her, so he doesn't feel like she's gone.
Yeah, there's a picture cut out of there's a picture cut out of Betty's face, and he's like sometimes talking to it.
And they look, and Mr. and Mrs. Claus are like, "Yikes!" And they're like, "That's uncomfortable." Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, I get that because yikes, indeed.
So, like, Noel and Mr. and Mrs. Claus are having like some kind of brunch, and they're like wondering why they're there. Yeah, this is funny. Like, Mrs. Claus is like, you know, the food's really good, and Noel says like compliments to the chef, and he looks at the kind of picture of Betty,
and they're like, "Oh man."
And Santa's like, turns to Mrs. Claus. This is why I didn't want to do this.
Right? Poor guy. So let's hop to the next bit. So now we have covered Noel starting his breakdown.
Yeah, and Mrs. Claus like asks Noel if he's like doing okay, and Noel's like, "I've never been better," and he's having brunch of his
3
people in the world. And like, wait, 3? Oh, yeah, the cutout picture of Betty.
Yeah. All right, next highlight.
But hold on, Mrs. Claus mentions the Nutcracker in here. Um, she knows the Nutcracker is no longer in Norway, and they're checking with other sources in the other parts of the world, but nothing actionable yet. It's like she's trying to like I don't know. I think she's trying to psych out Noel and trying to get the good information from him. She's like
Maybe.
it's like she knows something that the elves are hiding something. You know what I mean?
She starts to figure that out a little further on. I think she's just telling him this in general and making sure that her husband hears it because I guess she wants him to know that she's working on it, and so he doesn't have to worry about it.
Hmm. Yeah, and like Noel gets flustered and says, "Let's not talk about work." And Santa says he made a major breakthrough with Cal's sleigh training, and Miss Claus says he's no longer passing out. He said nope, but he has a foolproof method of getting Cal's fear of heights. I'm like, what's this? What's this? What's Santa Scott planning?
That poor kid.
Yeah, that poor Cal. Poor Cal. So if I can get let's see. Here we go. No, yep, here we go. I'm like, I'm first like, what the heck they're doing? Like, oh, I see. So they're imitating the Santa's sleigh without the reindeer, but they're doing with the elves.
Yes, it's the best they can do for a simulation, I guess.
I guess so.
Poor kid.
And Cal's like, asking Santa's like, are the elves angry about this?
That one was annoyed as shit right in the middle.
They look like annoyed. They look annoyed more than angry here. And like Cal wishes he was with Riley.
Yeah, that's it.
Because her birthday's tomorrow. And he was thinking write a poem or a song for her. And he asked his dad, Santa, when you read a poem or song or something for our mom, when do you get the inspiration from? He's like,
and right then he knows he's slacking as a husband right there. He's like,
yeah. He's like, books, movies, Dove candy bar wrappers. Like, really?
I'm gonna have to look at Dove candy bar wrappers. I didn't know they had anything on them.
Oh, they did. They did the little quotes and stuff like that in the candy wrapper.
Shit, hold on, I got some candy wrappers in here. I have a couple kids.
Only Dove candy wrappers. Only Dove candy wrappers, Moira.
No, I thought I had that, but it turns out that was like last week. Those are the ones I have now are Godiva. My bad.
And he's like, I don't know. I was like, ooh, kind of slacking off there.
Yeah.
Yee.
Yeah, you can see why he's looking down like movies and songs and stuff. Anyway, trying to like the poor guy.
It's like he's like, okay, enough chit chat, let's go. And I guess the elves are ready.
This poor kid just loses his shit.
Yeah. Santa's like telling Cal, remember how we went through this? Your ring between your fingers, just like we practice. And Elf throws a snowball at Cal's face. And one elf is like holding a handheld fan to make the snow more blizzardy. I'm like, jeez.
Let's see if we can get a freeze frame on that poor kid falling on his ass.
Yeah, like try to imitate a blizzard. It's like Santa's like, come on, you gotta get used to snow blizzards. It's gonna happen flying around. Good thing I didn't get the lighting machine to work. Like, lighting machine?
Lightning.
No, he said lighting.
Oh, I don't know.
I'm like, what? What's this light machine supposed to do?
I don't know.
It's like you gotta feel the prevailing winds. Feel them. Like, okay. He's like, okay, you're supposed to feel the prevailing.
Oh, that's the look right before he collapses, and he's down.
Yeah, and then he, Santa's like, remember all the children are like 30,000 feet down, and that's when Cal like faints and he falls down from the folding chair, and all the elves got pulled back, and Santa's like, for the love of sake, Nicholas, do I have to put training wheels on a folding chair?
Right.
I guess at this point, yeah, that'd be probably a good idea.
Poor kid. And her mom is trying to have a connection with her kid, and the kid's just not having it.
Yeah, Mrs. Claus is trying to connect with Sandra, who's has earmuffs on. I like those earmuffs, by the way.
They're cute.
Mm-hmm. I think Mrs. Claus, before she comes in into the room, she says, "Ding dong, is the witchin?" And her daughter Sandra says no. So Sandra says, like, La Bifana is teaching her how to tune out the sounds of animals' voices, because from the last episode she was getting overwhelmed by that. And her mom, Mrs. Claus, is like wondering how that's going, and she's like, "Great! I can't even hear that spider on her shoulder." Mrs. Claus like screams
and swipes it off her shoulder.
Yeah, and we hear the spider says like, "Say me, oh no." So is trying to have a conversation with her daughter, saying, she knows that she's been busy with Bafana, and she's trying to have some quality daughter time with her while having fun, and thought she would come down to the squad room to crack the nutcracker case to benefit some fresh eyes. Because
trying to invite her daughter to spend time with her doing something together.
And because it's just Mrs. Claus and Gary trying to work out this nutcracker case. But Sandra turns it down, saying she's busy working on spells and maybe another time. And Mrs. Claus just seems really frustrated and dismayed by that. Back to Chicago, Illinois, in Santa Polis. Oka's like wondering what they're doing. They should be plotting there for revenge while that Chrisful is away. Santa's like, "Mad Santa." Says just relax. He's gone all week procuring less expensive provisions for the Santa Polis theme park. Calls it bargain hunting, but
they bring a bow and arrow.
What does he call him? The Dottie Pole or something? Some kind of like weird name.
I didn't catch it.
Did even pack a crossbow.
Oh, crossbow. I was thinking bow and arrow. Crossbow, right. So yeah, he doesn't know what a bargain is, so he just assumes it's an animal.
No. So they go to the hot cocoa stand, which Moira has. I'm jealous. I don't have any hot cocoa.
I'm sorry. Yeah, you have everything else though.
Yeah.
Sure. Cheesecake and some other shit happening in your house.
Chocolate pudding pie.
See, you got other shit going on for you.
I like some hot cocoa. It's cold out there though.
That's true. Well, you bring me some cheesecake and I will share my hot cocoa with you.
Sounds a plan. The employee says, "Welcome to Santa Polis. We want to fuse our hot chocolate with North Pole magic."
And he's like, "Magic?"
Yeah.
And then they drink it, and then they spit it out, and it turns out it's like Yoo-hoo or some shit, some cheap ass shit.
Well, yeah, he says magic, and they're trying to find like a way back home and restore his powers. so yeah, like they both drink the hot cocoa and they spit it out, and Olga like is asking the like barmaid, "What is this swill?" And the employee's like, "Don't tell anyone. We're but I think she said we leave it out of the sun. Like that doesn't sound really.
Yeah, it's like Yoo-hoo or some cheap ass drink, and they leave it
Yeah,
out.
but it's Yoo-hoo. We leave it out of the sun. I'm like, Yoo-hoo? What the heck is Yoo-hoo?
Yoo-hoo comes in a glass bottle, and it's got a yellow label, and it's basically supposed to be chocolate milk, but it barely has any milk in it, actually. It's mostly chocolate.
Oh, that sounds gross.
It is. It's not great.
And they leave it out of the sun, too?
To heat it up, yeah.
Yeah. She said she used to serve her secret recipe, but we had to cuss cots. I could see why, since the snow tastes like cement. And Olga has like a really tasty marshmallow.
Oh yeah, marshmallow.
Yeah, the police like asked you like marshmallows, so she's like spits out Olga spits out the marshmallow.
She doesn't want to admit she likes anything.
Yeah, I'm like, what a waste of a marshmallow.
Right.
And like Olga's like asking how do people get place to place in these times? And the police says rideshare. It's like
they don't understand it's an app, so they're out there just wondering why people aren't picking them up and giving them a ride.
Rideshare, which is an app similar to Uber and Lyft. And they're standing in the parking lot
with their goat.
With their brown goat, yeah. Like wondering why no one's picking them up. Stuff like that. And Man Santa sees a poster of Easter on a billboard.
Which is really weird. They're hanging out in Christmas land right now. It's weird.
Yeah, that is weird. Saying it's almost Easter, and says to Olga, "I think I have an errand for you." This doesn't sound good at all. No. So this kind of frightened me for a bit.
It surprised me, but it's weird because it actually makes her look older, which is weird. She looks considerably older with that makeup on. I don't know why.
So back at the North Pole, Santa like calls for his wife, and she's like, "I'm here, sweetheart." She turns, and we see this gothic makeup on. Like, poof.
Yeah.
Santa's like, "Listen, I have some bad news. I think I hit a training wall with Cal."
Of course, to get a wall, you'd have to be moving, and he can't do that.
Right. And he turns, sees her makeup, is like, "Whoa, hey, why do you look like Alice Cooper?" I was like, and he realizes, "Oh, you're trying to relate to Sandra's deal. I get it."
Yeah.
And this has caused frustration that Sandra's spending every minute with La Bafana, and don't think it's healthy. And Santa's like, "Are you jealous?" And she's like, "No." And Santa says, Lapana is just like having a cool aunt. And asks his wife if she ever had a cool aunt. She said, yeah, she had Aunt Louise, who didn't like her. And Santa tells the story about his Aunt Tina and his sister who adored her Aunt Tina, spent a lot of time with her. And numbers fond memories of his Aunt Tina and his sister. But his mom didn't like Aunt Tina because they never saw eye to eye. And like his sister adored Aunt Tina every minute until she passed away. And like Mrs. Claus, you can see Mrs. Claus is getting like concerned. And Santa's like, backs up and says, I don't think it's anything to do with the situation. It's just such a story. And yeah, I think that really worried Mrs. Claus. I'm like, way to go, Scott.
That poor guy.
I know he was trying to help. Santa Scott was trying to help, but I don't really usually help in that matter. I think she just made Mrs. Claus even more worried. But I do like the outfit though. Maybe just less more
That's more.
Lipstick.
I think the lighting doesn't help. The way they have the lighting set up makes her look like she's 10 years older than she is.
Right.
Like, yeah, she looks like she's aged considerably from that angle. I'm like, yikes.
Mm.
Oh, shit. Let me make sure Chris got my cigarettes.
Okay. Let's see. Can't get it. No. Mm-mm. I'll push it out to do. So at Bafana's witch house, Bafana is teaching Sandra how to turn the pages of the book with magic, which she does. Oh wait, she teaches Sandra how to summon a gust of wind, but she does so, and then Bafana tells her to turn the pages slowly by magic. When she does so, and Sandra sees like a transformation spell, and she's like, wait, what's that transformation spell? And Bafana's like, use your brain's little pastina, which is like some kind of Italian word.
Right.
I don't know what that means.
What's the word?
Pastina.
Pastina. Yeah, I don't recognize that one.
It's an Italian word because she is from Italy.
Yeah, I'll try to look it up real quick, see if I can find what that is. See if I don't know.
Pastina. Pastina pasta? No, it's not pasta.
Yeah, apparently it's food.
Why is she calling Sandra pasta though?
I don't know. Sometimes we call somebody a little meatball, so who knows?
She said it's a spell that turns something into something else. And Sandra wants to learn it. Bafana says absolutely not. The transformation is highly dangerous, extremely advanced. And Sandra's like, she's not afraid to do it. And Bafana's like, maybe a year or two. And Sandra's like, I'll be old by then. And Bafana's like, these are the rules of magic. And they're going to practice incantations next. And I love the part how she, Bafana, is like, lifting the book into the shelf, which kind of misses. And then the whole shelf just breaks apart and everything falls down. That was funny. Even the La Bafana has mix-ups with her spells. Let's see here. I can get here. So back to Chicago, Illinois. Olga is dragging some kind of huge bag into the store, And we found out she kidnapped the Easter Bunny. Like, oh no. Now
And
this is
I think it's played by Tracy Morgan. I think.
yeah. This Easter Bunny is chased by Tracy Morgan.
The
The
voice sounded
original
right.
the original actor played the Easter Bunny in the second movie. Passed away sadly.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They recasted the Easter Bunny as Tracy Morgan. In a TV series, and it doesn't look half bad at all. So Olga has kidnapped the Easter Bunny. Madison just like, I want him found, not bound. At least move his a gag. It's not how we treat old friends. So the Easter Bunny and the Mad Santa used to be old friends here. And
Santa's got a weird idea of friends.
Right, the Mad Santa does. And Olga's like, you're friends. And we go to the little past. We go to the past here, or some kind of memory, some kind of like bar or something with elves, and you see the Easter Bunny singing, "Oh, my stepmother wants to boil me, so her son can start the clock."
Jeez.
And Madison is like saying, "Nay, forthwith, Master Winston, like me porridge not." And Mr. Bunny's like sounds like drunk here, saying this song slabbeth. Everyone join in. We go back to the present. And Olga's like saying, "No gag used to be fun." She's like, sounds like Olga's really into torture.
Yeah, she's kind of a weirdo.
Yeah, for a gnome, yeah. So she takes off the gag. The Easter Bunny's like, I don't know what kind of bathroom you got that gag out, but it's disgusting. And calls Olga disgusting gnome too. Apparently Olga says the G in gnome is silent. Is it? I don't think so. Well, she's telling Easter Bunny that the G is silent and he knows it. So she said Easter Bunny's like, so the madness Anctus is back. So Banton says yes. Easter Bunny says he's scarier than he remembers. And Mad Santa says he just yes, but I don't think I've forgotten how you other legendary figures betrayed me. The Easter Bunny says he had nothing to do with about that. Saying, you do know there's an Easter gopher too. I don't know why you came and got me. I just give out eggs. Sure enough, he does give out eggs. And Matt Santa says he doesn't believe him because he's like a bunny. And Easter Bunny's like telling him sly like a fox. And they're like going back and forth with this until like Olga comes in and tells them that both to shut up and tells Easter Bunny to take them to the North Pole. And Easter Bunny refuses. He's like, hello to you too, and save your breath. I'm never ever hurt Santa Scott. Not gonna happen. And Man Santa says Scott is an undignified name. Olga says like it's one-syllable, pathetic. Easter Bunny says he's a wonderful, jolly Santa. Something Man Santa and his sidekick know nothing about. Olga's like sidekick. She wasn't really happy about that and says he'll give him a kick. When she does so, and he screams, saying, "Why did you kick me in my hoppers for? That's my money makers." It is a little rabbit. Like for money makers. That's adorable. And Santa shuts him up, saying, we need you and your magic to get to the North Pole. And Easter Bunny says it's never going to happen. Mad Santa. And Mad Santa does not like the name of Mad Santa. Snaps his fingers, and Easter Bunny wondering what's up. And Mad Santa says, "You'll see." And Luca gets a plate full of peeps. Let's see if we can get it. I don't know if I can get to see. There we go. Yeah, so she gets a plate full of peeps.
Oh, see, that's too much. Oh Lord.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not meant to be eaten. It's packing peanuts. I'm like, oh geez.
Yeah, he said it's like, it's chubby bunny time. He's like, not the peeps. And Santa Bastards like, you're gonna eat them all. And Easter Bunny's like, you're a pure monster. Right. And you're right. What you said, you're correct on. Easter Bunny's like, peeps were never meant to be eaten. Those were packing materials.
Right, packing materials, right.
Wait. Marshmallows are packing materials?
Well, it barely constitutes as actual marshmallows. There's so much junk in it that it's rubbery most of the time you get it. So it's really just not, it's mostly, you can just pack like stuff to ship it off, not actually like eat that stuff. They're not respectable marshmallows, and we all know it. They're bastardized marshmallows. And here we have poor Cal, who's
and his sister Sandra. And Cal's like, to his sister Sandra, like, it's official. I'm disappointment to her father. So Cal thinks he's disappointed to his dad. And Sandra's like, oh please, he chose you to be the next Santa. And Cal's like, he says he can't even fly a sleigh, and he's worried when the legendary figures see him he is, that his dad's going to be embarrassed.
Right.
And Santa questions if he does even want to be Santa. And Cal's like, why wouldn't I? Riley likes how I look in the vest. If I ever succeed, I'll make Dad so happy. And Sandra points out, so you're doing it for everyone but himself. And he's like, no. And, but can't come up with a reason. Sandra's like, yeah, just can't read words there, huh? There are a lot of jobs that come with a vast suit. If they just work out, then you can always go with that. Like a crossing guard. Poor Cal seems just really frustrated. And doesn't seem like his sister Sandra's being that helpful either.
Sandra? Yeah, Sandra's being fairly helpful. She's trying to give him some advice to figure out what
doesn't seem that very much helpful advice, if you ask me.
Well, you can't push it too hard, but she's getting him to ask himself the questions. If it's
right. So I think it's the security room or Gary's office. So Gary told Mrs. Claus like the Nutcracker was exchanged hands with collectors, dealers, and rogues all over Europe, but might have rounded up in America. And Mrs. Claus doesn't seem to be paying attention because she has candy in her mouth and thinking about, I guess, her daughter.
She's kind of concerned about Sandra, so she's not really paying attention.
Yeah. And Gary's trying to get her attention. She's like, hello, Nutcracker, doing my job because you made me. Say, wait a minute, you weren't doing your job before?
Pretty much.
Jeez. No, I find this funny. And she's Mrs. Claus like, great. Anyway, can you get him the cabins you have on La Bafana's cabin, excuse me. I'm like, wait a minute. Didn't she said early in the earlier episodes that, like, um telling Gary why all the cameras are pointing at the witch's cabin? And the irony in this, because Gary says, I knew it. She got into your head. That's what she does.
He has an intense dislike of that woman, even though she hasn't actually done much of anything.
No.
He just seems kind of salty.
Yeah. Well, it was a date 200 years ago that didn't go well. And then Santa Claus comes in. She immediately was looking at the orb of there's a little orb of which is cabin in the orb. She's like watching the orb.
The orb of surveillance.
It's the orb of surveillance. That's right. She's watching it. Mr. Santa Claus comes in and she immediately turns it off.
She looks guilty as shit when she does that.
She got caught. And she's like, Santa's like, are you watching our daughter? She's like, no. And Gary says yes.
She's like, fucking shut up, dude.
And Mrs. Claus like, fine. I'm worried. We hardly know La Befana, and Sandra spends all her time with her. And Sandra's like, yeah, you're right about that. And Mrs. Claus, like, says, thank you for being on my side. While Gary sips syrup. Ugh. Sandra has a bright idea to fight, Bafana to dinner, and to get her to get to know her, unless Mrs. Claus is jealous. And Mrs. Claus like, no, dinner sounds great. And Gary thought he was going to be invited too. And she's like, what time? I'll clear my schedule. And Santa frustratingly says to him, you'll know what I do is go home and wait for a call. And this is kind of dastardly with Santa here. He asks Gary if he can borrow one of their jetpacks. And, Mrs. Claus picks up what he's trying to do here, saying, depends. Are you going to send our son into orbit to force him to get over his fear of heights? and Mr. Claus, Santa Claus says cancel the jetpack. So this is backup plan? Trying to send his son Calvin into orbit with one of the jetpacks? Yeah, that's going to go really well. And Mrs. Claus asks Santa, they think he should take it easy on Cal, and try to tell him that he loves him, and asks him if he tried it. And, he's like, honey, and Gary interrupts her once again, saying no one ever told him that he loved me. And Santa sarcastically says it's pretty obvious.
I feel so bad for him. I gotta say, Scott Calvin's kind of an asshole, to be honest. He carries a chip on his shoulder like, I don't know what. Like,
salty. He's being salty here.
Oh, and now he's been fed till he's sick.
Yeah, we're back in Chicago, Illinois, and Easter Bunny apparently ate all those peeps. Like, that's a lot of peeps.
Oh yeah, and he drops the strangest deuce.
Yeah.
He's like, did that come out of his? And I'm like, how though? Did it come down his pant leg? Like, how?
It's like, Easter Bunny's like, begging him, like, begging him to stop, I guess. Say, technically, you can use these to steal your windows. Like, that doesn't sound like a good idea. and the Easter Bunny's having, stomach
Issues.
pains, I guess.
Yeah,
And
the Peeps marshmallows gave him a
Yeah.
case of the IBS.
And Matt Santa's like sarcastically saying, "Oh, does your tummy hurt?" And Easter Bunny like painfully groans and here come and pops out a golden egg.
That's the strangest deuce ever.
Yeah. And Oko's
And I
like,
was like,
where
did that
did that
come out of
come
his-
from? Did that come from his? And the golden Easter cake pops out and some kind of weird green gas comes out. And Mad said it's like, oh, I forgot about his weaponized eggs. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And Easter Bunny's like laughing, and Mad Santa and Olga are like coughing. And Easter Bunny says, "Bunny, go bye-bye." And Mad Santa's like, where did he go? And Olga's like, I feel fine. And fate. I think the gas was too much for her. And the Mad Santa's like, is mad. He's squishing the Peeps in his hand. Like, no, don't squish the Peeps. Not the Peeps. So back to the North Pole. Mrs. Claus, Cal, Sandra are having dinner with La Befana. Mrs. Claus is asking if the food's all right. Wasn't sure what she likes to eat. And Befana says she only eats soup. Elf hands her some kind. Elf hands some kind of note. To Mrs. Claus, and I guess she gets to notice that her dad. She said Mrs. Claus says to the children that their dad has been detained, is not able to make the dinner, and Mrs. Claus has got to kill him. And asks La Befana and Sandra what they've been working on. And Sandra says it's complicated. Befana says they've been practicing telekinesis among other things, and says Sandra has come a long way from beheading Ficus. Ficus. Is this kind of like some kind of fig? Ficus. Oh yeah, it is a fig. Fig trees. So Sandra's like using magic to behead fig trees. That's interesting. And both Sandra, Befana, and Mrs. Claus are laughing, and Mrs. Claus like wondering what they're laughing about. And Cal like asks Befana to please pass the salt. And he's like, but of course. And Befana moves the salt with her magic. And Sandra says, like, wait, watch this. And Sandra is like lifting the salt with her magic and sprinkles the salt on Cal's food. So her talents of her magic coming a pretty long way. And Mrs. Claus right here gets jealous. Saying and announces like she has something, and she dips her finger into the wine and trying to make and traces her finger onto the edges of the wine glass, but the only thing you hear is like glass speaking. And Mrs. Claus like saying like, wait for it, it's usually so cool. Nothing happens. So this is like an awkward pause. Cal says like he knows magic too with his Santa powers. And can tell exactly what they want. And says to La Befana that she thinks her steak is bland and lacks flavor. And Mrs. Claus gets very angry, slams her hand on the table, saying, "No magic at the dinner table," and everything.
Yeah, she's feeling left out.
Yeah,
she's like
she feels
the only one
left
that doesn't have
out.
any magic.
Yeah,
and yeah, so she feels like the odd one out. Especially
Right.
that moment when they were talking about something, and her mom asked her about it. She goes, "Oh, you had to have been there," and right then was about where she broke, because she would have been there had she been invited.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah. So Bafana says like apologizes, says there's a reason she never gets invited to these things. And Sandra's like, nice going, Mom. And Sandra just leaves. And Kel's like, wait, well, she gets to leave. And he leaves also. And Mrs. Claus like apologizes for yelling and admits, it's really silly. But I think I'm jealous because Sandra likes you so much. And Bafana is like taken aback, saying, "Mrs. Claus jealous of me, but you're so blonde." I don't know. I don't get why.
I think she's insinuating that her blonde hair makes her pretty.
Oh,
So I assume so. Like, you're
maybe.
So blonde. You're so pretty. That kind of thing. That's how I took it.
Well, brunettes are pretty too.
Well, this is true, but I don't.
Mrs. Claus, like, why would I be jealous? You live in a mysterious, wonderful caravan, have this magic, and have this beautiful melodic, singy song voice. And Bafana says like it's an accent from her time from Italy. And Mrs. Claus thinks it's cool, and it felt like Bafana was taking her place. And Bafana says, no. A girl may need a teacher from time to time, but a daughter needs her mother forever. And says she doesn't want to be mom. It seems difficult. Mrs. Claus seems to agree, but says it's worth it. And that's when Bafana invites Mrs. Claus to maybe they could she come over and see her Sandra's training sometime. And Mrs. Claus agrees and wondering what she should wear. And Bafana says just regular clothes, and Mrs. Claus wondering she needs to bring a broom, and says no, you don't need to, and Bafana says no, you don't need to clean her. So they're like having a little bit of fun with each other at the end, which is good. I like this room. This just looks really really nice. Let's see if I can get it. Here you go. So this is the letter room in the North Pole. So it's really I find it's really interesting how they get the letters and stuff like that. So Cal is like writing a letter, the letter room, and Sandra sees in there like, hey, there you are. Want to know something cool? The letter apartment. This cave, the original one, used to be here at the North Pole. I'm wondering if that was the original cave where we saw Mad Santa sitting in his cold throne in. Or is it the same cave that trapped Mad Santa in the Nutcracker? I don't know. That'd be interesting to know. But anyway, Cal says he likes coming in here because it relaxes him. Santos asks him what he's doing. Says he's just writing back to someone. Santos says that's nice. We don't answer letters here at the North Pole. This is not a two-way system. Working on a way to make it like that, so that we can send stuff back. But there's been some glitches, so they don't answer back. They just receive the letters. That's interesting. Cal is like how literal, and everything. It says everything blows up, which is not good. And Cal's like, wait. So how does the mail get here in the first place? So this is interesting. Let's see if I can get it here. So a kid writes a letter to Santa, says to Santa. They put it in the mailbox. And to mail it. And the letter magically disappears and ends up in this conveyor belt in the letter department. Magically delivers there in the letter compartment. That ends up to the whirly gate thing up there, whatever that is. Which is kind of cool. So they write the letter to Santa, deliver in the mailbox, magically disappears, and somehow appears on the conveyor belt in the letter department in the North Pole. So that's pretty interesting. That's pretty cool. So Cal is like, begrudgingly saying, so Cal thinks it's really cool, and he's like, begrudgingly saying, so they'll go back to training now. And Santa thought will be a much better idea to have something fun, and asks Cal if he ever been to the control center after hours. Cal says he tried once using a fake ID, but the elves knew who he was. Santa agrees because you live here. It says, consider tonight your lucky night. And then Cal says like, wow, thank you. And then Santa opens this letter. See if I can get it. No. Yeah, here's the letter. Saying, "Dear fraud of the North, thine days are numbered." So this is from Mad Santa. And then we go a little back in the past here. And we found out the one who mailed that letter, who wrote that letter to Santa, was Olga, and she delivered it in the mailbox.
Yeah.
And magically transported to the letter room. Oh dear. So we go to the control center, or the control room, whatever, however you want to pronounce it. And I like this scene right here. It's my favorite scene. So Santa saying he's saving up this bottle for a special occasion, and thinks the elf Pierre to bring it, and says, "Look at that, 1996." In 1996, dang. Great year for root beer. I wonder about that. That's interesting.
I wouldn't.
We wouldn't?
Magical root beer.
Cal tells his dad he hopes he enjoys it. And he's like, "Look, reindeer brain, this is for both of us." This is like, really? Yeah, and he's like, do the honors. So they pop open the root beer, saying, Santa says you're age, you're 18, you can handle it. What, root beer?
I know they're making it sound like it's more than it is. I don't know.
But
you gotta remember, Gary has a drinking problem, which consists of him drinking syrup. So they're a little strange over there.
Right. And like, wait, he's holding off the drink root beer? Okay.
Yeah, hit that sauce.
Yeah. Sen says this is a rite of passage you want to do with your dad. And Cal says, okay. He's like, he's like having a root beer float with ice cream, which does not sound like a bad idea at all. I like to try some. Never
He's
tried
kind
it.
of a dick in this thing too, though. Like he's kind of a dick throughout the show, to be honest.
Kind of.
Like he was telling his dad he's proud of him, and he goes, "Oh yeah, there was no doubt." And I'm like, "Wow, what a dick thing to say to your son." Wow.
Like well, Santa's God can be a little salty sometimes.
Well, yeah, but I mean, they're having a nice time sitting together, and he has to ruin it. I mean, poor Gary said no one ever told me he loved him, and he just makes a snarky comment. That poor guy needs a hug. Like, he's kind of a dick. Like, I hope that Santa never, like, mans a suicide hotline. He'll probably be like, go
Jesus, man. And he's like, Santa's God's like, you know what? I love ice cream. I love ice cream too. I love ice cream. Everybody loves ice cream. You know, any like right end of that he says, you know, I love you, right? And Kel's like, are you talking to me or the float?
Right.
It's like, Santa's like, come on, Cal. And Cal says he thought he was disappointed in him. And Santa says, I never seen anybody drive worse, but most people in that situation would have to crawl into a cave. You went back at it, tried again, and so, I'm so proud of you. So kind of like a half praise, I guess.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, it was like half-assed, but like he's like, you know, you kept messing up, but you kept trying. I'm proud of you. And so, like, he barely got that together. And then when he told his dad he was proud of him, his dad just shit on it. And I'm like, dang. Like, he's kind of a dick at the worst times.
Better than nothing, I guess. I would really love to have those rubber floats. Oh, this scene. This scene. I love the scene. Let's see if I can get the scene here. Oh yeah. So I can't get it, but so Sandra's like practicing her magic and shooting down her stuffed animals with her magic. Cal finds her sister, you know, and asks him why he's so happy, saying Cal says dad loves him and he's proud of him. And Sandra says, and you just figured this out, being snarky. She's like, Sandra's like really snarky as her dad, sometimes. Cal says, no, I knew it. He just doesn't really say. It's more like attaboy, or you know those things that coaches say in football movies. And Sandra says, you know, her brother's weird. And Cal's like, you know, frustrated that, and tells Sandra that, you know, that you're just jealous that I'm the heir to the throne. And he's getting hair and heir mixed up. It's
because the word heir looks like it was be pronounced hair.
Yeah. And Sandra's like telling Cal it's heir. And he's like, no, it's not. Which I would know because I'm the heir. And they're like, and Sandra's trying to convince him of this. And that's when the Easter Bunny comes in. And magically pops into the North Pole. Sandra's like, you know, you gotta be kidding. She sees the Easter Bunny saying, you gotta be kidding me. And everybody's like saying, "Where's Santa? I gotta find Santa. One more hop, I'm gonna pop." And he says, "Hey, that rhymes. I'm a poet. I didn't even realize it. Where's Santa? I need to tell him something." And Cal is like, "Oh, you're looking at me." Let's see if I can get it here. Let's see here. Here we go. So, Cal thinks Easterbunny's looking at him. Like, "Oh, you look at me. Well, almost. I'm the heir to the throne." Easterbunny thinks that's supposed to be a joke because it's hilarious and laughs. Sandra tells her brother Cal he's embarrassing. You don't even know what hair means. No. Yeah, Sandra says he's embarrassing. Cal tells Sandra that she's embarrassing because she doesn't know what hair means. She's like, "Huh?" Easter Bunny has enough saying, like, "Look, I'm here for your shenanigans. I need to find your father." Sandra frustratedly, angrily says to Cal, "Hair means rabbit," and purple magic comes out of her hands. And we hear, like, some ruckus and stuff and like that, and stuff falling down the floor. Mrs. Claus hears it. She's like wondering what's happening, and asks, like, "Guys, what's happening?" Sandra says, "Mom, I promise I can explain." And we see the Easter Bunny turn to a cute little bunny. Bunny. Oh, look at that cute little bunny. Oh, it's a cute little bunny. So the Easter Bunny somehow gotten turned to a bunny.
Cute little bunny.
Cute little bunny. Look at the cute little bunny. Aww.
It doesn't really look like a bunny from this angle. It looks like a small dog.
But it's a bunny.
Oh, I'm just saying, like, from this angle, it just looks like a little dog. Like, I'm not, yeah. Okay, a little bit, but kind of. It's got like that chair leg behind it, so it's kind of ruining the silhouette.
Let's see if I.
Yeah, I saw. All right. When you showed it, the bunny had turned the other direction. Then it looked like a rabbit. But like the darkness around its ears, it kind of gave me like an optical illusion to where it doesn't look like a rabbit.
So we hear magic rumbling, and we see La Befana coming in. And she's like, "It's me, La Befana," and she felt like a strong concentration of magic. And she sees a little bunny on the floor, saying, "Who is this little fuzzy wuzzy?"
That's the Easter Bunny.
And Cal says, like, "It's the Easter Bunny." Sandra changed him into a bunny. And Sandra's like, "I didn't do it on purpose." And La Befana's like,
"You did a transformation spell without permission?
How could you let this happen?" And Mrs. Claus is trying to stand up for her daughter, saying, "I'm sure she didn't mean to." And Befana, for some other reason, stops her. It says, Befana says, "You perform a transformation spell with permission." And Sandra says, "No, I swear I didn't. I was just mad. I was picturing a bunny, and it just happened." And Befana is like taken back because she's rather puzzled, saying that is something else entirely.
Yeah, because she's not supposed to be able to have that kind of power.
Yeah, that her magic power is stronger than she thought. And Sandra asks Befana if she can change him back. And Befana says that she's says maybe. Reversing a transformation is never a guarantee. I fear that we move too quickly with a training, and it's best if we take a step back.
And then,
So-
of course, in true teenage fashion,
Yes, so
the
she
girl
thinks she's
smarts off at her and says that she's jealous about her having power. And
well,
this and that.
she's
Thinks
getting
that
in
it's that
trouble
rough.
because her powers are too strong,
All right.
and I thought she thought it was a good thing. And I do agree with Bafana. Power can be very dangerous if
Yep.
not handled properly.
Yeah, I mean, she's already getting an arrogant attitude, so having
Mhm.
power behind that's not a good idea.
Yeah. And Sandra like angrily shouts out, like, "You think, she thinks Bafana is jealous because her match is getting too strong when she can barely even stir her soup."
Which is
Ouch.
so uncalled for. She should have smacked her with that broom. Is what she should have done. Smacked.
Yeah, and Bafana says "basta." Like, what's basta?
I don't know.
Basta in Italian. Says it means enough.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Enough. So basta means enough. And tells Sandy that we'll be talking about this later. And Sandra doesn't want to talk about it later. And she says very well, grabs the Easter bunny or the bunny at this point. Says, "Come, Cornelio, let us get to work." Cornelio, I think, means in Italian. It means rabbit.
Oh, okay. I did not know that.
Even though I am Italian, I don't really speak Italian.
Italian?
Hmm?
Sicilian at best.
Who, me?
Yeah. Sicilian, maybe. Sicilians are more likely to have lighter hair and blue eyes.
Sicilian. Well, I am Italian. Maybe it's Sicilian as well. I mean, I guess.
Sicily is near Italy.
Yeah.
Same part of the world.
Yeah. Same area, kind of. And
I thought you were Irish. Now you're that.
I am. I'm Irish. I'm Italian and German.
Good Lord, you got the whole UN in there, don't you? Jeez Louise. Goodness.
So, Bafana takes off. We hear the magic rumbling behind her. And Sandra's all upset. And Mrs. Claus comforts her daughter, saying it's gonna be okay. And she knows that she didn't mean to. Sandra like thinks her mom to be on her side. She's like, I'm your mom. I'm always gonna be on your side. So Sandra and Cal are like some kind of like balcony lookout of the North Pole. And Cal apologizes, like, what happened was partially his fault. And Sandra's like, smartly says partially. And Cal's like, okay, a lot actually. Sandra says she's mad, but not at Cal. She's mad at Bafana that she freaked out of over one mistake and feels bad that she might have ruined Easter. And Cal's like, yeah, that's a biggie. And Sandra's like, really? And Cal's like, I'm sorry. I've been feeling that too. Sandra thought this was the best day of your life since Dad learned how to verbalize his emotions or whatever.
Right.
Cal says, which is why he sent a message to Riley and nothing. I mean, what's the point having a great day if you can't share with the person you love?
Poor guy.
She
really should have sent a letter back.
Yeah, which Sandra find disgusting or gross. Cal wishes that she could see her, and Sandra asks if he, do you
Really
want
was.
to? Saying that he can see vortexes and she can fly the sleigh unless he's too scared. And Cal says, like, let's go. And she's like, oh, yes. Let's do it. Cal says, let's do it. And Sandra says, Dad's going to kill him. Kill them. Like, ew. Rebelling. From a rebel here? That's cool, I guess. So, back in Chicago, Illinois, Man Santa is making up a plan, saying that this with Olga, saying as soon as the protectorate shield around the North Pole thins before Christmas, they're gonna launch the gnomes and call it Operation No Man's Land. I'm like, wait. I'm like, so the protective shield around the North Pole thins before Christmas? That's interesting because I don't remember. Do you remember? Like, I don't remember seeing anything about that during the last season or the movies. Do you? I don't remember. And Nobel asks, like, is it no man or no man? And Matt sends, like, it's gnome. A cover played on word. He's like, no, what? Never mind. It says to Olga, she's so critical, and she says, maybe if I wouldn't be so critical if he had better ideas. Oof. And then Jacinta says he smells reindeer. I'm like, what? He smells reindeer? So Cal and Sandra show up in Riley's house. Sandra shows up. So they're both in Riley's house. And Cal shows up inside the house as well. Um, Riley's like, shocked that Cal's in her house, asking what he's doing here, and Cal wanted to surprise her, and she's like, "What?" And he says, "Like, happy birthday." She says, "My birthday was 2 days ago. You missed it." And says, my friends have officially decided that my Canadian boyfriend is made up. Calvin from Calgary wasn't super convincing. And Cal's like saying, I really wish I could have been there, but he's been so busy with his dad, which is true because his dad has been training him for being the next Santa. And says Riley scoffs at this, saying he's always busy with his dad. And Cal says he's here now. And Riley says, exactly, in the middle of the night with no warning, and saying she can't keep doing this. And he asks, Cal says, keep doing what? Riley says, we never see each other, and then you show up in my living room. It's too much. And Cal says he'll make up to her, saying they're gonna go to prom soon, and it says, Floofy, come on. Riley says she's pretty adamant that she's done. She says, no, Cal, I'm done. I want you to dust me so that I forget I ever met you. I'm like, damn, that's harsh. Cold. And Cal's like, says, no, I'll never do that. And Riley says, fine, then I'll forget you about you on my own. So Riley just right here just dumps Cal right here and breaks his poor little heart. Very coldly, might I add. And Sandra's like, was there the whole time watching this from the sidelines. Says, "Sorry, I'm sorry, bud. That was really rough." And they're like, they take off. Let's see if I can get this. Mad Santa and Olga are like in the back of the woods saying, Mad Santa can sense there's reindeer that they're here. Then they must be near. Olga says there must be near, and hate it when she rhymes. On the sleigh, Cal's Sandra's trying to make her brother feel better, or trying to, saying she never liked Riley anyway, and then admits that she really liked Riley since she was so cool and just wants to make her brother feel better. And Cal angrily and frustratedly says, "None of this would have happened if Dad wasn't so obsessed with me being Santa. I wish I never put this thing on," which is the Santa Fest training, which he takes it off and throws it back on the sleigh. And that's when the sleigh takes off, and when that happens, Mad Santa and Uncle come in too late. Mad Santa just like saying, like, there's the fraud Santa. They just missed the sleigh. Olga says, no, Mad Santa says if he only had his, actually, yeah, Olga says if you only had your magic, you could bring him down. Mad Santa's like saying to Olga, "You love mentioning that I don't have my magic anymore." And Olga notices something in the sky. She's like, "What's that?" And it's the Santa training vest that fell off the sleigh. Mad Santa doesn't know. Olga thinks it's a rag. But Mad Santa says, "This is no rag. This is Santa magic." He puts on the training vest on, and we see magic enveloping on the magical vest. And Mad Santa says he can feel the power, and it's glorious. And I think Santa Scott sensed this, and he woke him from his nap. And, he's like, "What?" So Santa Scott is subconsciously picking up there's danger coming. And that's the end of the episode right there. That is episode 3, No Magic at the Dinner Table.
Oh, my kidney hurts.
What's wrong with your kidney?
I don't know, but it's a sad little kidney.
Oh, no. Ah!
Yeah.
Where are my controls?
I don't know.
All right, episode 4, Miracle on Dead Creek Road. Dead Creek Road. That sounds ominous.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound very Christmassy at all.
Right.
But yeah, let's see how quick we can get to this one.
I don't think that will take us too long. It's a shorter episode. I think maybe like an hour, like 1 hour.
You're killing me.
Oh, come on, we can
I
do
want to spend
this.
some time with my muffin.
Well, the quicker we can do this, we can just sit back and relax. So, episode 4, Miracle on Dead Creek Road. I don't know why I put red down there. Whoops. Siki. Oh, this is just the replay. So we're at the North Pole, and Noel's getting a health checkup from Doc Martin. And it's like, is this the only doctor we have in the North Pole? No nurses or anything like that?
Right.
And Doc Martin's like, oh boy, well, no, I don't know how to tell you this. And when you hear the monitor beeping in the background, yeah, Noel says like, there's some things better left unsaid.
Right.
True. Doc Martin says, if you don't reduce your stress, you're going to explode. And she's like, Noel's like, literally? She says, have you seen a blueberry in a microwave?
First off, who does that?
I don't know either. Who does that?
Like, I want to go get a blueberry and go put it in the microwave and see what happens.
Oh, no!
I'm curious now. Like,
no! Don't do that.
I got the blueberries in the freezer. I'll go grab a couple and just toss it in there and see what happens. Like, I'm curious.
I do have a blueberry pie, but I'm not going to put the whole pie in the microwave.
Good. Oh my god, I want a blueberry pie. Shit.
Well, that's hot cocoa.
Right? I'm gonna have to get some crust and make a blueberry pie. I got enough for it.
Does it sound like a bad idea?
I got a whole bag of blueberries.
He's like, Noel says, like, yeah. Doc Martin says that's what happens to elves who get round up as you do. We call it Curtisitis. And Noel says, so literally. And he says he told everyone he wasn't ready. He wasn't head elf material. That Betty was always so good at this. She always kept her tension in her hair.
That poor thing.
And I can see why, because it's very on point, just like Mrs. Claus' hair was in the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
Last season, actually. So Doc Martin says she wants Noel to track his stress using this monitor. That his prescription is rest, less stress, and get your head right. And Noel turns to the picture head cut of Betty, says, okay, hear that, honey? See the cut up picture of Betty's head. And Dr. Martin says, oh boy. And then Mrs. Claus comes in saying, she looks stressed out. And Noel's like, Mrs. Claus always has a calming presence. And Mrs. Claus says that Sandra turned the Easter Bunny into a bunny, and now they're going to do Easter. And you hear the monitor say blueberry, and Noel fades onto the floor. Poor guy can't catch a break. So Mad Santa's like seeking, oh stepmother, oh my stepmother wants to boil me. Oh my stepmother wants to boil me. And Olga's like saying huzzah. Mad Santa singing so her son can hear the clock. Olga's like huzzah. They're like both chuckling. And then we see Chris come back. Saying he's back. The fake snow was way too expensive, so we got dried shampoo instead. You're gonna. I'm really confused by this because you only got like 2 cans of dry shampoo. How that's not gonna be enough for snow. And Manson is like looking at the dry shampoo can, and Chris notices Manson is wearing a vest, and he's like, "Nice vest, Burlington." And Santa doesn't know or doesn't know him, and says, "But what do you say about a sweet treat?" And turns the dry shampoo can with the magic with the Santa vest and turns it into an ice cream cone. Which looks really good, by the way. Oka's happy, and Chris asks him how he did that, and he's like, Messin says magic. Olga says that's my Santa. And Chris is like, this is real. He's like astonished. He's like, this is real. And Santa's like, Madison's like, okay, new plan. Now that his powers are back, they're gonna go take down the fraud Santa. And tells Chris, don't know if you know this, but I was permanently exiled from the North Pole. And, Chris says wrongly exiled. Olga says really wrongly. Both Matt, Santa, and Chris are like saying the same thing at the same time, saying, yes, it's very, very mean, very unfair. Chris says, yeah, you might have mentioned it. And it's like eating the ice cream. Olga says to Chris, while you were gone, the frog Santa made a stop in the woods behind the park, that he will surely come again, and this time he'll be ready with a trap. And Mad Santa asks Chris, what does Santa love more than anything? And Chris, says he loves riddles. That he got this. He says cookies. Nope. Presents. Nope. He loves presents. No. Smell of pine tree. And Matt Santa is like frustrated. It says Christmas. It's Christmas. And Chris is like, obviously, why did I think of that? Matt Santa says to Chris he's going to turn his sad excuse for park into a spectacular merriment that will rival the North Pole. That Santa Scott will have no choice but to come back. Chris says he's on board, and Matt Santa says good. But Chris says he will have to hurry because his dad is planning on showing the park to potential buyers next week. And Matt Santa says that he won't want to sell it when he sees this. And again, turns another dry shampoo can into a snowball. And Chris is like, a snowball? And Mad Santa just throws the snowball at Chris. And everybody is laughing. And Chris says, that Ogre and Mad Santa are his best friends. So back at the North Pole, Mr. and Mrs. Claus, Cal, Sandra, and the rest of the elves are having a meeting. saying, so Santa says, we gotta get into this awkward situation with the Easter Bunny. And Eddie, one of the elves, jokingly says R.I.P. And Santa says she didn't kill him. Santa says he's not dead. He's out of commission for a while. The deal is we can't let the legendary figures to find out about this. So we gotta reschedule the Sandman. So I guess the Sandman is coming to the North Pole here. Crouton, one of the elves, says, "Why just say we our pipes froze?" Santa says, "Because our pipes are made of ice," which is a good point. Santa says, "Let's move on." Nothing else really big deal except that we have to do Easter this year from the North Pole. And the elves, like all of them say, like, what? One of the Crouton says, "What's Easter?" Eddie says, "How do we spell Easter?" Noel says he doesn't have time for this. Eddie says we don't know about nothing but no Easter. Noel says, "Yeah, we like. Does the Easter Bunny hide the Easter eggs, or the eggs hide themselves?" Eddie says, "Exactly. What do eggs have to do with Jesus?" Noel says, "How does Jesus like his eggs?" Sandra says, "It's true. Don't get chickens and bunnies involved in Easter. Rabbits don't lay eggs, blah, blah, blah." It's a whole TED talk now. Santa...
Even though the Easter Bunny dropped a golden egg.
A golden egg, yeah. Santa's like, "What does Ted Rabbit have to say?" Santa's like, "It's Ted's the chicken. Pay attention, Dad." Noel says maybe Jesus had chickens and was friends with the bunny. Eddie thinks it's a good idea. Let's write it down. Then Santa, I love this part. Santa says, we kind of went through the text. We couldn't find anything. It says to Noel, "So Noel, this is on you to figure it out. All right?" And we hear the monitor, his monitor on his wrist saying, "Warning, warning, caution." And you hear a little whimper coming from Noel. So he's like really stressed, saying, "Easy peasy, no blueberry squeezy." So he's really stressed out, poor Noel. And the monitor says, like, "Calm down." So Santa says, "Okay, consider this as an experiment for the Calvin family Christmas business, and we're just gonna work on Easter. So if we screw up, it's no big deal. It's our holiday." Eddie says that's a good point. Santa says to Sandra that you gotta tell the ranger about any witchy magic. No. And Sandra's like, "No one asking you to." And Sandra says, "Good, because those days are over. They're vanished." Sandra says, "Okay." So Sandra seems to be done with her witchy magic because of what happened with the Easter Bunny. And she says, "Not because I made them vanish like with a spell or anything. They're just regular over." And Santa's like, sarcastically saying, or snarkily saying, "Thanks for the clarification." And he turns to Cal, saying, I'm gonna ask you to help me deliver the eggs." And Cal's like really heartbroken. He's really depressed with his breakup with Riley. And Santa's like, saying, no. Well, Cal's like, meh. And Santa's like, no, it's gonna be exciting. It's a good opportunity. You're gonna experience what it's like to go through in people's homes while they're sleeping, drop stuff off. Instead of packages, though, it's Easter baskets, but you get to feel what Santa feels. And Cal's like, sure, why not? It's not like really will get mad at me for being too busy with crazy stuff and break up with me because she already did. So poor Cal is still heartbroken with his breakup with Riley. And Santa moves some kind of golden pen or knife away from Cal or something like that. I couldn't really tell what it was. Santa said, that was a good attitude to have. Let's keep it there. Told us Mrs. Claus, we need to have you and the ELFS or Elves squad to go find the Easter Bunny baskets of tricks. And she's like, fine, basket of tricks. Santa says, full of stink eggs, laughing eggs, and magical rabbit hole. And Mrs. Claus is wondering how does he know all this? And he says it's hard to be all knowing. By the way, your mom wants to call her. It says, okay, that's it. We're a group that knows how to get stuff done. Let's hop to it. And Eddie says, like, too soon. Mrs. Claus turns to Sandra saying, like, hey, do you want to go investigate the rabbit warren with me? I will help take your mind off of things and we can fly and use jetpacks is better than a broom. And she's like, okay. So takes off with Eddie and they're like talking about like the Easter, like, there's, and he says this could help. It's bright and colorful. Noel says the baskets are white. The baskets are almost complete and stuff like that. And then he sees, and Sandman, Noel, says, looking good, Sandman. And he's like, Sandman, because it's supposed to be scheduled Sandman, but he's already here. And he's like, yikes, I don't have time for this. And turns to the elf, says, kaboom, faint for me. And one of the elves faint, and Sandman notices and says he's still got it. So Sandman's already here.
The poor girl collapses.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't have time for this, faint for me. And she does, which I thought was weird but funny.
Yeah, and Sandman thought he still got it. Which is funny.
Yeah, what's the Sandman there do? Do kind of like an audit to see what they're up to?
Yeah, so this must be the same actor from the second movie, The Santa Claus.
I'll take word for it.
Yes. So, there was supposed to be rescheduled Sandman, but I guess he came in early. Whoops. That worked out so well. He said the legendaries are terribly sorry about their pipes freezing. But he decided to drop in and do a preliminary review of Cal. And then we hear the monitor on Noel's wrist saying, warning, Blueberry, danger. And Noel says, like, can you give me a second? And we hear the monitor, he goes off, we hear the monitor saying, breathe, calm down. And Noel screams, saying, has anyone seen my pillow? And Sandman looks all confused, and then it tells Sandman that's really normal for him. Well, poor guy, Noel's like the head elf. He didn't want to be the elf but he had no choice to because Betty went to Cribble Crabble, and he's so stressed out, and to the point he's about to pop like a blueberry.
Poor thing.
Yeah. Poor guy is stressed out to the point he's like talking to a head cut out picture of Betty for reinsurance. Oh, hold on. My kitty's meowing. Right, sorry. My kitty was meowing at the door.
Aw, cute little thing.
Yeah. Santa's like surprised to see Sandman here at the North Pole so early, and he's like saying, it's great to see him. Thanks for stopping by. And it says Cal is looking forward to show you how he can ride that sleigh. That unfortunately all the reindeer are off on the team retreat. Let's see. I got my notes mixed up here. That falls, that sort of thing. You understand? I messed up my notes a little bit. There's a lot of other skill sets he'd like to show you. Cal's like still super suppressed from his breakup from Riley. And Sandman's like, that's wonderful. I'm glad I bought some provisions to ensure that I don't nod off during the presentation. And he's like, opening like a Yule blast can, like some kind of magic fizz drink, not let him sleep. And then just like, right, hold on a second. It tells Cal to come here. Tell him to pull it together. And Cal, like, he said he's trying, but he swallowed his emotions, and there's a lot of them. I use eggnog to put that down, but that's not feeling great. Oh man, that doesn't sound helpful. Swallowing his emotions with eggnog. And said just like sarcastically, try and threaten too, saying, I got an idea. Why you to Sandman, why you sit back and relax and let's go through the presentation. And Eddie, like, the elf says, hello. Sandman says, that sounds good. Santa says, thirst up. And picking gifts. And Eddie switches the Yule Blast can for a mug of warm milk. It's that they're trying to get him to sleep. Sandman. Like, oh.
Yeah, because he's kind of getting in the way of what they're trying to plan. So.
Yeah, exactly. So Eddie makes him comfortable, lets him lay back in the chair, and says, okay, what Christmas gifts? What does Camille P want? And Santa's like choosing
He's carefully choosing stuff that he will help make the Sandman go to sleep. Teddy bear, blanket.
Yeah. And Cal's like, Camille P wants a warm, cozy blanket. They put the blanket on Sandman. Sandman says that looks nice. And Sandman thinks he's getting spoiled here. How about Kevin R? I wonder what he wants. Kel gets a teddy bear out. Teddy bear. It gets the teddy bear to Sandman. What about Eugene C? A lavender oil diffuser. Which sounds nice. yeah, Kel brings that out, and he's like swishing the scent to Sandman, and Eddie's like singing to him, "Go to sleep, go to sleep, and never wake up." And Noel's like saying, "That's dark," which is she immediately changed it. So the Sandman's asleep, and Sandra's like, "Okay, we're going back to Easter plans. Let's move." And then Gary comes in saying, "Did I hear singing? We jamming?" And he's like playing that loud core thing. And he's about to wake up Sandman. And Santa says the love is St. Nicholas and throws some Sandman dust at the Sandman. Turns to Gary, and "Your jamming almost ruined Easter." And Gary says, "Art is meant to disrupt." I'm like, wait a minute, that's not always the case. And Santa's like, what? So we go to Mrs. Claus and Sandra, who arrived on jetpack to the Easter Bunny's home. And Mrs. Claus thought it was fun, and Sandra thought she takes it back that she preferred the broom. Actually, I honestly go with the jetpack instead of the broom, in my opinion. So they're going inside to find a basket of tricks, and Sandra notices that the Easter Bunny's place is a mess. But rabbits are notorious slobs. You would think the Easter Bunny would hold himself to a higher standard, but we are who we are. And Mrs. Claus says that's, how profound. And wondering how her daughter is, and her daughter says she's fine. Fine is a four-letter word. You cleared the dishes this morning with your hands. So Sandra used her magic to clean the dishes. And so she's not totally done using her magic as she said she was. And Sandra's like, adamant that she's done with magic. I thought what she thought about what Mafana said, and she's quitting, and she's banning herself for it. And Mrs. Claus thought she'd enjoyed it. Sandra said she did, but until she ruined Easter and the Easter Bunny. Mrs. Claus says, "You didn't ruin him. He's just furrier now," which he is. A cute little Easter Bunny. And Sandra's like worried, what if he never turns back? And Mrs. Claus says, "We all face challenges in life," which is true. And Sandra's like, "No, I can't. This is why I can't do this anymore, because every time I get upset, something goes wrong every time," which is kind of true at this point. Hush, Pumpsies. And Mrs. Claus says, "Well, that doesn't mean that you give up." And Sandra thinks that it's best to not do magic anymore or feel anything anymore. So she's really frustrated and depressed here. And Mrs. Claus is like, healthy. It's okay to be angry. In fact, women for all time have been filled with deep rage. It's why we have a higher pain threshold. We just need to find a way to get your anger out so it doesn't come out in your magic. What do you think, Moira? Moira? Okay, she's not there right now. So Mrs. Claus breaks the table, and Sandra's like, "What are you doing?" Saying Mrs. Claus says she's getting your anger out. She says, "Oh, come on, take a look around." He's not gonna ever notice, because I don't really think he would notice, because it's such a mess. Which really is. So they're like, Sandra chimes in and breaks a folding chair, and they're like breaking stuff in the Easter Bunny's house. And yep, they're all so they're done breaking stuff. Mrs. Claus like, that's my girl. And Sandra says she just thinks she's afraid with all this witchy stuff that has been so new and honestly feels overwhelming. And Mrs. Claus says she has these gifts for a reason. We just don't know what that is yet. Which Sandra nods, and Mrs. Claus says, so no more self-imposed bad magic. Sandra agrees. And Sandra. And Mrs. Claus says that she's proud of her. Why don't you use that magic to clean up? Sandra says, all right. And Mrs. Claus says, we'll check in back with your dad. And she notices a squeaky board. Sandra says, what? Mrs. Claus says, it's hollow. Sandra says, wow, you're good. So she opens a secret. Mrs. Claus opens a secret compartment. And she thinks she found a basket of tricks, which she did. So back to Chicago, Illinois, the Santa Polis theme park. Santa's like, little wretch village. I, Magnus Antis, command me to transify, sanctify. But nothing happens, which Chris notes. And Mantis says he's just kidding. He claps his hands together and magic flies out. And the sign gets updated and stuff like that. Everything gets updated and it's brand spanking new. Chris is like in disbelief.
Flabbergasted.
Yeah, flabbergasted. It looks like he says it looks like feels like he's in a fancy mall. A fancy mall. Okay.
Oh, a fancy mall. Like that. A lot of those malls will have like setups where it's like a whole Santa village and everything. Yeah.
Okay, I've seen
them on TV. I've never seen them. Like at malls here, there's usually a very small little area they have made up to look like a little Santa thing, but not anything like huge.
I mean, I've seen Santa meetups in the mall, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah, it's like a small little decorated area, but some of the fancier malls have a bigger display.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Manson just says, a mere think you won't do, but you're welcome. And then we see the I don't know. I think I can get it, but oh well. Chris notices the Ferris wheel is working and it hasn't worked in years.
Right.
And has been sleeping in one of the buckets since Olga and Matt Santa have been sleeping in his apartment. And says, oh man, when my dad sees this, he's gonna, and Olga says, die. I'm like, wow, how cheery. How cheery of her. And Chris is like, no, this might just save the park. And Olga sarcastically says, the only one who needs saving is you. Ow.
Yeah, she's kind of an angry little thing.
Yeah, she is really angry.
Like all these happy pills or something shit.
Mm-hmm. It makes it like it has enough, like, silence. He's a grown man that owns Santa theme park. He was bullied enough as a young child. And Chris says right here, You know what? Haters make me greater. True. Santa says it's so nice having my magic back. If only I had my amulet. Chris says, like, what amulet? Santa says it's beautiful, it's powerful, but the scoundrels who turned me into a nutcracker took it. Chris says that's horrible. And Olga says he actually dropped it. Ooh. So he dropped it, huh? And Matt said it turns to her saying, Matt said it turns to Olga says, well, you drop it. So Chris is figuring out, okay, so it's an alien. Is this like a ring or a stick? And Matt said it's like a stick. Why are you asking me so many questions? Are you planning to steal my amulet? Chris says, no, I'm just having a real conversation with you. Matt sent us ask Olga, how's the trap coming? Olga says, is any good torture devices store around here? Anywhere I can get a deal out of a dagger and a crossbow and or a battering ram. Nothing like that exists. Not anymore, anyway. And Chris says, you know what? I'll get back to you on that. Also, why don't you go to the North Pole and confront Santa? Mass Santa, because the poor Boris Pig's powers are too strong for me to take him on at the North Pole without my amulet. That's why you need him to bring him here. So he wants to bring Santa Scott here to Chicago, Illinois at the Santa Polis theme park. Excuse me. Excuse me. And Olga's like telling that Chris is scared. No, that man Santa is scared. And Nancy just like told her that she told her in confidence. And Olga says, "Don't tell me you're scared to Chris." And he's like, "Just of you, respectfully." And she growls. Chris says, it's okay to be scared. Even superheroes are scared from time to time. As a matter of fact, I'm writing a graphic novel right now where this one's actually, and he gets caught off saying, at Messina says, see what you've done? And they walk away, and Chris is like, huh? So, back to the North Pole, Hugo, the technical alpha here, wants to discuss a new few things to Santa, saying for Easter we've been preparing. And then Mad Santa has a vision of Mad Santa. And Mad Santa is like saying, my stepmother wants to boil me so that our son hears the clock. And the vision ends. And so Hugo's trying to get Santa's attention, asking if he's okay. And Santa's like, do you hear that singing? Hugo wants to say yes, but you're my boss, but obviously you know not at all. Are you okay? And Santa's like, never felt better. And Cal, it's like hushing everyone down to keep it down because Sandman's still asleep. Hugo says, anyways, for Easter, we prepared a few options. And Eddie comes in. Let's see if I can really get her outfit. There we go. So she got it. And Hugo's like, says, Eddie says, don't interrupt the creative process. Now I was saying I decided the perfect Easter bunny outfit. And Santa's like, no. And Eddie's like, I can't work like this. Hugo, well, we can't have you look like Santa delivering eggs to Santa. And Santa doesn't want to look like that. Where what Eddie the elf is wearing.
Yeah,
It's
he looks
too,
like
it's too glitzy for him.
Elton John. It's got an Elton John look to it.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
I do want the jacket though. Not the feathery part, but like sequin. This God cool. I don't know where I'd wear it, but that'd be cool.
I would like to get. Yeah, I'm with you. I'd like to get the feathery scarf. Really.
You get the feathery scarf. I'll have the jacket.
Okay, I'll have the feathery scarf, and you have the jacket.
Like, I don't know where I'd wear it, but like I'd try to find something.
Hugo says, which is why we prepared this watch. It's the same watch he used in the second movie. When he was trying to find Mrs. Claus, the one who a magic dial to tell him how much magic he has left. So Hugo gives him the watch and tells him to tap the button 3 times. Then it's like, hey, did you steal this watch out of my bedroom? And Hugo's like, never mind, just tap the watch and you'll transform into that emaciated fellow Scott Calvin. And Santa's like, chuckles, that's all right, but taps the button 3 times. And let's see here, I can get it. And there you go. He's back to his normal self. And he was like, ooh. Santa's like that he could look at his whole self anytime that he wanted to, which Hugo agrees, saying there's a lot of things that we haven't told you. Moving on, and Santa's like, what about what about Cal? What he's gonna look like? And he says he's less expiring. Cal says, Eddie, I'm just super depressed. Eddie says here, I'm going to tell you when I told the Leprechaun Emperor when I styled him during his custody dispute. Get it together, my man. And then you hear like Sandman like screaming here, get away from me, Freddy Krueger. Which is puzzling or hilarious, I guess. Cal says that Sandman has nightmares. Hugo says, if we can move on, I also created these for you. And Santa Scott is really excited, like something cool. Hugo says, it's to make sure that you can completely undetected on your rounds. It may look like an ordinary bunny ear hat. Let's see if I can get the bunny ear hat. I can't, but let's see if I can get it. Can I get the bunny ear hat? I can't get it. It's a bunny. It's a brown bunny ear hat. Santa Scott's like really hesitant to put it on. Saying, is there such a thing as a normal bunny hat? And Hugo just tells him to put it on. So he puts it on and he disappears. For a little bit. And Eddie screams saying, Bookie Gumdrops, you killed Santa. Santa's like, stop, what's happening? What are you doing? And Hugo says the hat makes him invisible. And only those with Santa magic can see him. And Santa Scott says that's cool. And Eddie says she's gonna need a pair of those. Santa Scott takes the bunny hat off, saying, so the hat makes me disappear. Hugo says correct. And the ear, Santa says, the ears that is a part of the, and the ear, is that a part of the function of them? Hugo says no, he just added it just for fun, which is funny. Hugo's beeper beeps, like, wait, he's a tech no geek and he still has a beeper.
Yeah, I'm kind of like, what the?
That's old school. And says he has to go now. If you excuse me, he needs elsewhere. Scott asks if the hat has batteries. What Jay got to know. Hugo says he'll be fine. Eddie says, I know, sir, I know you've been leaning away from my design, but how do you feel about magenta fridge? And Santa says, immediately puts the bunny ear hat on and disappears. Let's just hope she doesn't use that for Mrs. Claus when she's talking to her. All right, hold on. My kitty's like, getting my attention again. Hold on a minute. All right, back. Sorry, my kitty is being a little bit annoying. So in the control room, alarms are blurring. Hugo's asking what's going on. Crouton says they're registering Santa Magic in America. And Hugo's like, why is it always America? So we go back to Chicago, Illinois. And you see a sign that says Santa Paula's famous never melting ice cream. So they're selling never melting ice cream. So Bay Santa's giving never melted ice cream. Chris is like, yes, right, ice cream that never melts. Manson is like, you know, Chris, it's in the name. Olga says she found like a let's see if I can get it here. No, I can't. So she found it like found a piece for their Santa trap will make a perfect pillory or guillotine. So she's definitely has a dangerous side to her. So what are those kind of boards you put your face in and take pictures with, like, you know, like Santa or a reindeer or something like that? That she wants to make a perfect pillory or guillotine with. Not very jolly at all. And Chris like comments like that logo makes everything sound fun sarcastically and uncomfortably. So they're giving out unmelted ice cream. A little girl says, not just about melt, it's magic. Everyone should come here. Chris says, you know what? Could you say that again? And takes out his phone. Maybe add a thumbs up at the end. Matt Santa says, it's only a matter of time before we catch the attention of the North Pole. And Oka says, what chapped Santa and cut out his heart. And Matt Santa says, oh, this is why you can't skip your afternoon nap. So she's going head honcho with this. Like, that gnome Olga is scary. So back to the North Pole. Santa says to Kel, listen, that was a tough day. You did great, and you look fabulous. Cal's wearing the bunny suit, and Kel says, "Don't." Kel says, "Eddie said I have to look like a bunny if the invisible bunny hat fails." And Santa Scott says that's probably a good idea. And Kel says to Santa Scott, she has one for you too. And Santa Scott says, "Oh, fat chance of that. You look like a hairy leprechaun." And Kel's like, "What are you, a deflated balloon? Ouch." Then Santa Scott has a vision of Mad Santa. Mad Santa is singing Knave Thoof's Master Winston, me like pride not. And the vision ends. And Cal's like, "Sorry, Dad, did I hurt your feelings?" And Santa Scott says, "No, he's good. What are you talking about?" And that's when Sandman wakes up saying, "Why did you look like that?" They're both, Santa Scott and Cal were both startled. Santa Scott says, "Well, I got a special watch. You press it here 3 times, and I go back to my old self." And Sandman says, "You look like that on purpose. I was talking about Cal. Why is he just as the Easter Bunny? What's going on here?" Santa Scott says, as part of his training, I had to teach him how to do all the legendary jobs so he would know about the world of magic, which is a lie. Sandman says, "Why did you start with Easter? I'm the most important. Look, you can't wake up on Christmas morning unless you fall asleep on Christmas Eve." Scott, this is coming from a guy who fell asleep with Cal, was successfully flying the sleigh, which is another lie. Sandman said he did not. I saw everything. Sandman, Cal flew the sleigh successfully. Santa Scott says, "Yeah, you're a little crusty in your eye." Sandman rubs his eye, saying, "Look, I need to go, but thank you for the hospitality." Santa Scott says, "Yeah. Look, I have my assistant reach out and schedule a day for Cal to learn my job. It's not all blankets and sheep." I thought he was going to say blankets and dust, but fair enough. So the elves are having a meeting, saying, "What did Crouton here?" Yeah, here we go. No. Here. Let me see if I can get it here. Yep, come on. Oh, come on. There we go. So the elves are having a meeting. Noel, Crouton, Gary, and Doc Martin. Crouton says, "What do we do?" Hugo picked up Santa magic and loose in the world. Noel says, "Hugo just picked up Santa magic doesn't mean it's Mad Santa." And we see a cutout of Betty's head, picture of her head. And he's like, "Come on, what else could it be?" Doc says, "Maybe." Crouton's like, "Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy." And then Noel just breaks down and says, "Okay, it's Mad Santa." Eddie says, "This is bad. This is very bad." Crouton says, we can't have Santa Scott out of the world with Mad Santa roaming free." And Gary just, shakes Crouton, saying, "Get it together, Elf," and tells him to remove his hands from his sweater. He apologizes. That's how does something like this happen. She says, you're the one who sold the Nutcracker to pay off your gambling debts, which she did. He says doesn't remember it, but let's move on. Doc Martin says, if the man sent us back, then why he has to come for us? Eddie doesn't know, but I know if we tell Santa, he'll all be exiled from the North Pole forever. So they're also very worried about this. Noel says if we send him on the grounds, we have to protect him. Gary agrees, saying, of course, that's what I do. Dr. Martin says, you don't actually. Croton thinks it's a bad idea. All of them look at the picture cut out of Betty's head. Noel says, you're right, Redder Pig. We'll take a vote. Who votes to tell Santa Scott? Croton raises her hand. Gary says, shocker. Noel asks, who votes to wait until we have more information? All the elves raised their hands. It's unanimous vote. Saying it's settled. Santa Scott will go. We'll keep him sleepy. We keep him monitored and make sure he's safe. This is my best friend we're talking about here, people. My utmost a priority. The man I die for in my sleep. The man I dreamed in my sleep every night. Sorry about that. Eddie says, what about Cal? Noah agrees, says, yeah, protect him too, obviously. So in the reindeer room, Santa Scott and Cal, Santa says, Night Star, listen to this. There you go. I've been having these visions about a guy in a green coat singing to his mom or stepmother. Noel says, oh yeah, I love that one. And Noel's like singing, my stepmother wants to boil me so her son inherits the clock. Santa Scott says, that's the song here. How do you know that song? Noel says he didn't. Noel's like realizing and panicking and says, I didn't. I don't. Just like, I guess we're just so close. Whatever you see, I see. And Santa Scott tells him to wait, and Noel says BFFAE for life and takes off. He doesn't want to like spill the beans or anything like that. Eddie and Hugo come. Eddie says to Santa she created a jacket for her rounds. Hugo says he doesn't need a jacket because you'll be invisible. Santa Scott agrees he'd be invisible. He doesn't need it. Eddie says you still need to look like the Easter Bunny in case the dumb visibility wears off. Hugo says, well, if that happens, if that happens and it won't, he's just gonna look like a weird guy with a ridiculous looking purple jacket. She's like, excuse me, Brainiac, are you a stylist? No, you're not. And Santa Scott had enough. Said, okay, elves, I wear the jacket if it will put end to this turf war. Like a rabbit's gotta wear like this jacket. And I have to say, I really like the jacket. What do you think, Moira? Moira?
Oh, sorry, I was muted. What's up?
Do you like the jacket he's wearing? The purple jacket?
Yeah, I would have to see it in some proper light because it looks brown. It looks like a dark brown in this light.
Huh, so, that's weird because I'm seeing purple.
I mean, like a purplish brown, which is hard to explain, but like, I mean, I'd have to see it in like a better light. But I mean, yeah, I like it so far.
Right.
I like something a little floofier, maybe. I don't know, something a little more smooth, like a regular velvet, not like a crushed velvet thing going.
Right. Mrs. Claus comes in. She says, "Ooh, nice threads." And Santa Scott feels like feels like a walking eggplant. Mrs. Claus says she has a Easter Bunny's basket of tricks. She tells Santa Scott, if you get cornered, throw an itching egg. And he's like, Santa's like an itching egg. If you get caught, you throw a stink egg. All right, stink eggs, itch eggs. All right, I got this. And if you're hungry, these are just plain old hard-boiled eggs. Those sound delicious.
Yeah, I do like it.
Santa Claus says he'll be fine. I'll deliver presents for a living. Mrs. Claus says she knows. I'll be monitoring your every move. So she's gonna be in the control room center, watching him and Cal deliver Easter eggs. And Santa says the reindeer are set, ready to go. Santa thanks Sandra. Santa says, even though it's Easter, it feels good to be Santa Claus. Even at this weird weight of being himself. And he says, come on, Cal, just hop to it. Just can't get enough of those jokes. All right, everybody, happy Easter all. Have a good Friday night. He smiles, but Mrs. Claus is like, nope. And, Santa says, hop in. So they hop in. Back to Chicago, Illinois. At Santa Paula's Theater. Let's see if I get Chris here. Yeah, Santa man living in Santa Paula's Theater. So he's no, that's the wrong one. Oh, here you go. So Chris is dressed us as Frosty the Snowman and saying, that's why you should all follow your dreams no matter what your dad says, okay? One of the kids in the audience says he looks fluffy. Says, yeah, Chris says, yeah, now before we take a little Q&A, how about some sleight of hand? Man Santa is watching from the audience saying, at least it's not improv. Chris asks, any suggestion, he drops something. He says, whoops, any suggestions? Man Santa says it's a nightmare. We're finally drawing a crowd at attention to the North Pole, and this loggerhead's ruining the Christmas spirit. And the person he's talking to, he thought he was Olga, but it wasn't. And some kid gives him a weird look. And a parent puts her hand on her kid's shoulder and says, "Let's go." Chris says, "Here we go, got it." And we Santa has an idea. So he goes up on stage, and him and the audience are singing. Here's the interesting part: the audience is singing 5 golden rings, 4 calling birds, 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves, and a partridge in a pear tree. But the Mad Santa is singing 5 golden rings, 3 French hags, 2 sharp knives, and a partridge and a pear sauce. And Chris is like, sauce. And Mad Santa turns a colorful scarf into snowball by magic. Throw the snowball and it's snowing. And he says, "Let it snow. Yes, let it snow." That's catchy. I like it. And one of the kids in the audience says, like, It doesn't taste like dry cement. Santa says, yes, well, we're going to send men in a Santa land. I know what each of you want for Christmas. And Santa touches his nose and tells the audience to check under their seats. The audience checks under their seats and finds presents. And right here, I'm like thinking, whoa, we're into Easter. He's already giving presents already to the audience, meaning those people, if, well, when it's Christmas time, they won't have anything that they want. Which is true, but you know, there's something, I guess sometime along there's something else that they want by Christmas comes around again. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. See here. Yep, there we go. So the Jonas is standing up and cheering. Messon says, yes, of course, rise to your feet. The pleasure is all yours. Chris says he's so great. I'm happy for all the attention he's bringing the park, you know, side, but deep down, I wish it was still me up there. And notice the kid, you notice he's not talking to Olga. It's some kid. Again, the parent takes the kid by the face, says, "Let's go. Let's get away from him." And Chris is like, Olga's actually
Helga, the mean.
Yeah, Olga actually, yeah, is like Olga's actually
a person.
Yeah, Olga actually a really evil gnome who hates me. I'm sorry. And you hear Matt sound in the background like, "You're welcome. Merry Christmas to all." And the exit is near the gift shop.
Right. And he's getting his capitalism on.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. So we go to. I like this is like very weird lighting.
Oh, it is very weird.
It's like night vision goggles, but it's less green.
Right? More blue and less green, yeah.
Yeah, so they're Santa, Scott, and Cal were like in someone's house. Like, did you do it? I mean, for the Easter Bunny, did it actually have to be in their house or just put it in their front lawn?
Well, I mean, I always woke up with the Easter basket like on the kitchen table. So, I mean, I guess the Easter Bunny got to get in the house.
I guess so. But like for me, it was more like sometimes in the house and sometimes outside.
Well, I mean, the majority. They'll have to hide the eggs outside, but like, I don't know. Like the Easter basket is supposed to be what the Easter Bunny brings you, and your parents
Right.
color the eggs and hide them outside. So that's just their problem. Easter Bunny left the stuff on the kitchen table for me to find. It's good stuff too.
Very good stuff. The chocolate bunny.
Oh, yeah.
I love
Fit his ears off first thing every time.
The jelly beans, the chocolate eggs.
We didn't do the jelly beans in this family. Chocolate, fuck yeah. Oh, don't. Hey, I wasn't abused and deprived. It was fucking. I had chocolate. Dang it! Holy shit! If I really liked jelly beans, they probably would have got it for me, or the Easter Bunny would have. Whatever.
Mm-hmm. So Santa, Scott, and Cal are delivering Easter eggs in the houses, and they're wearing the invisible bunny hats that makes them invisible.
Thank God. Nobody should see them looking like that. Yeah.
And Cal's like, "Wait, how do you know the ears are working? Because I can see you. You look like you're going to a rave." Santa, Scott's like, "Because you have Santa magic." "And how do you know what a rave looks like?" I'm guessing because of the VR goggles he was wearing. last season. And Santa Scott brings Cal to the mirror, say, "Look here, see it's working," and you only see the Easter basket in the mirror. And Cal's like imitating like a vampire, like who or a ghost, like who. It says, "But wait, what if because we're vampires?" And Santa Scott like says to Cal, like, "Just hide the eggs. I'm gonna hide the basket." And Santa Scott, being a Santa, he's like wondering if they had milk and cookies. He's like, "No, Easter Bunny doesn't eat milk and cookies. Only Santa does that. Don't." And Cal's like, "Gosh, keep it down," and puts 2 eggs in the oven. And Santa Scott's like, "I hope they don't turn that thing on." So back to the North Pole in the control room. Mrs. Claus asking the elves how everyone's looking. And one of the elves says, "According to the magic meter, it's so far so good." Gary says there's absolutely nothing to worry about. Noel says, "Here, that Peppermint," and he looks the picture cutout head of Betty. She's not there, and he's like, "Where'd he go? Where'd she go?" She somehow shows up behind him. And he says, "You stinker." So back to where Cal and Scott were. They're done with their rounds. You hear their dog barking, and Scott says, "Get one of the stink eggs ready." And Cal stops, says, "Wait, okay, wait, stink eggs?" And Santa Scott says, "Yeah, from the basket of tricks." Cal's like, "Those were stink eggs?" Santa says, "Yeah." Cal says, "I might have thought of those were normal eggs put in the wrong basket." Cal drops the basket. No, I mean, not Cal. Santa Scott drops the basket, saying, "Okay, so where are they now?" And Cal's like, And yeah, Santa Scott drops the Easter basket, and we only see the Easter basket, no one else, because they're invisible. And Santa Scott says, "Cal, did you hide the stink eggs and not the Easter eggs? Which means we have to go back to all those other houses and switch them back. Because you can't have kids waking up in the morning and find exploding eggs. That would not be good." And Cal says, No, you can't." So they go back to all of these other houses. So they had to backtrack all of those other houses, and somehow took the invisible Easter bunny hats off during that. Like, why? And Cal's like tells his dad, "Hey, Dad, it's getting late. I forgot my ears." And Santa Scott says he forgot his too. We're almost caught up. Be quiet. Be quiet. We're no longer invisible. Remember. Wait a minute. And he says, wait a minute, Cal, hey." Cal's like, "What?" "Which?" And he shows 2 eggs, which is the stink egg. And Cal, right here says, "That might have been me, sorry." And so he's mentioning, he's passing gas. So they're done making their rounds again a second time. And they're on the sleigh. And Cal is like, "Wow, I can't believe we pulled that off." Santa's like, "Other than a few mishaps and a few stink eggs, I would call our Easter round a success." And Cal agrees. Santa Scott says, "What?" Cal's like, wait, am I gonna look like you or Santa? And Santa Scott says that's actually a pretty good question. Cal agrees. Says Santa Scott says, one more stop, kid. And Cal's like, wait, what? You see Mad Santa snoring and Olga sleeping on top of each other on their backs. Mad Santa wakes up saying he's back. And Olga says Santa is good as dead. Mad Santa yells, get our running cloaks. And then we go back to the control room in the North Pole. There's alarms going off. Santa saying Santa's in danger, imminent doom. Mrs. Claus is asking what's happening. Eddie breaks down into pressure, saying, okay, fine, there's Santa magic loose in the world, and Santa's dangerously close to it. Mrs. Claus says, what? How did you know about this? To Eddie and Noel. They both said, Noel says no. The system alarm saying, I predict danger. Noel cracks under pressure too, says yes. And Mrs. Claus says angrily, Noel. Dr. Martin says to Mrs. Claus, okay, remember that nutcracker you were looking for? We think it came to life. Eddie here says the magic interfering with communications. We can't reach him. It looks like the two Santas are headed for a collision course. And she's panicking, like, what do we do? What do we do? Mrs. Claus screams to Gary, get my jetpack. Gary, on the sidelines, that's Dr. Martin. Dr. Martin. Let's see if I get it. I can't get it, but Gary is like eating pudding, saying, Gary, get my jetpack. Gary, find the nutcracker. Gary, stop eating pudding out of the trash. When does it end? So back to Cal and Scott. Let's see here. We can get so Santa and Cal land. Santa says, good going, Dasher, keep everybody settled down. Cal was like wondering, Dad, what are we doing here? Santa says, you did something great for me today. Now it's my turn to repay you. Look, I know it's not easy doing the rounds when you're emotionally distraught, and I know Riley means a lot to you, son, so I think you should go talk to her. Cal disagrees, saying, no, I appreciate the gesture, but this is what Riley wants. It's over. Santa Scott says, it's not over till the fat guy sings. Isn't it, lady? Like, And he says, I can't carry a tune. Come on, let's go. And Santa Scott walks into a trap that Olga put down. And Cal's like asking his daddy, is he okay? And Santa Scott's like saying, what the? And then you see then you hear a metallic ding come down, and it's the heading blade coming down right behind him. Which is scary. And Santa Scott's like says never better. Like didn't even phase him. And Cal says don't worry, I'll save you. And then he falls in the trap as well. Like it's like another trap.
Bless his heart.
And and Santa Scott told him to be careful. And Cal says never mind. And Santa Scott's like, okay, all right, I got to figure this out. I got to. And then we see a silhouette.
Very weird one.
I don't know if we can see. There you go. There you go.
Like it's the second coming of Jesus. You're like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, that's what I thought. Like, what, are we seeing an angel or something? Or Jesus?
Oh.
And like, and Kel's like, oh no, this is it. I will never be able to try Chipotle. Chipotle?
Apparently, he's never tried Chipotle before. He's going to die without having tried it first.
Hmm.
I mean, it's a weird regret, but I mean, you know, you're doing pretty good if that's one of your main regrets right there.
Yeah, but it's in fact Mrs. Claus on a jetpack. And she said, we had to get back to the North Pole. You're in danger. And Santa Claus like says, you think? And she said, Mrs. Claus like, okay, I'm not. She has some kind of gadget.
Yeah, see, it's more of his sarcasm again. Like, she's there to help him, and he's like smarting off at her. Like, you think? I'd leave him there. Like, fuck you. You got insurance money. I'm going to leave you here. Okay, fine.
So she said, I'm not totally sure how to work this thing Hugo gave me. And Santa's like, Scott says, like, then I don't think you should work it. She turns it on, and the gadget's like making a loud sound. And both Santa, Scott, and Cal are turning to tell her to turn it off. Mrs. Claus doesn't know how. Then the zapping sound stops. They get out of their entrapment, or the tools that are trapping him. And Mrs. Claus says, "It worked. Thank goodness. I really thought something might blow up." And Santa Claus like, "Oh, for fig's sakes, honey." And Kyle's like, "Chipotle all around." And you hear rustling in the background. And Santa Scott tells Mrs. Claus and Cal to hide. And Santa puts on the visible bunny hat. And then Olga, the gnome, walks into her own trap. So there was another third trap in the background.
That poor girl, I swear. She and Cal are perfect for each other. Shit. Except she's probably like 800 years old.
Mm.
And she's about that grumpy too.
Yeah, and Madison just like saying to Olga, "I'll never leave you behind, except for now." And then Matt Santa, since he's Santa, like another version of Santa, or earlier Santa, he's like, "You and the funny ears." Both Cal and Mrs. Claus are shocked, and Santa Scott is like, "How does he save me?" Matt Santa grins, and that's when Santa Scott has a vision of him saying "Wanga Banga Longa," and the vision ends, and he says, Santa Scott says, "Oh, Magnus Anctus," and that's when Mad Santa was commanding magic into this little tight round sphere. And that's when Santa Scott says told Cal and Mrs. Claus to get back on the sleigh. Mrs. Claus says, "Go, go, go, go." Mad Santa throws the magic ball at Santa Scott, hits him on the back of the shoulder. He says, "Ow." Both Mrs. Claus, Cal, screams for his dad. Mrs. Claus screams for Santa Scott, asking, "Scott, are you okay?" Cal's in the sleigh. Mrs. Claus says, "Go, go, go." Santa Scott tells the boys ranger to move. The sleigh takes off, and let's see if I can get it here. And the mad Santa screams in frustration, since the Cal, Mrs. Claus, and Santa Scott gets away. And that's the end of the episode. That's episode 4, Miracle on Dead Creek Road.
Oof.
So what did you thought about this episode, Mara? I mean, 2 the episodes.
They're all right. It does seem to be picking up a little bit of steam. I feel like they could have got this done in an hour and a half or two, but like, but they seem to be maintaining some steam a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I love. Let's see. With me, the third episode, I love how Sandra mistakenly and frustrated and angrily transformed Easter Bunny into a bunny. It was so cute, bunny.
That is cute.
So and they're so because of that, in the fourth episode, Santa has no choice to take charge of Easter holiday for the Easter Bunny since he's out of commission. Let's see. What else did I like? I liked well, it's kind of like iffy. I like how Mrs. Claus, well, even though she's Mrs. Claus, she's still human. She was jealous of Bafana taking her place with her daughter.
Right.
Which wasn't really true. And they became good friends. I liked how the Easter Bunny was, I liked how the Mad Santa and Olga tried to force the Easter Bunny to do their bidding by feeding him a bunch of peeps. Let's see. I liked how the Mad Santa got the Santa training vest, and turned 2 dry shampoo cans into an ice cream cone and a snowball. Let's see. Is there anything we didn't like about these 2 episodes? Myra?
Well, I'm not much on Christmas stuff in general, so I mean, for what it is all right.
I don't really think there's anything.
I mean, I don't like the fact he seems to be kind of like a smart ass at everybody all the time.
You mean Santa Scott, you mean?
Yeah, even when they're trying to be nice, he just sometimes has to come up with something kind of shitty to say. And I'm like, fuck, dude.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like my biggest issue. Like he tries to encourage everybody to be nice, but then when they're nice to him, he's like when the son was saying how he's proud of his dad. That still bothers me because he's like, oh yeah, there was no doubt. I'm like, God, you're an asshole. Like your son's trying to be nice, and that's what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, so we've almost improved. Let's knock it down.
Like I didn't like how Riley just completely dumped Cal.
Right, bitch could at least wrote him a letter and said, "Hey, yo, I'm really sad that you haven't been coming around." La da 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 da.
Just touched him right there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, if you can show up in my living room unannounced, granted, but he could have sent a letter saying, "Hey, I'm going to be here on this date." Like I would have helped, but she could have been like, "Hey, babe, like this isn't working." She didn't have to be like, just like, yeah. How are you going to ghost a guy who can show up in your living room? Like,
he went all the way to see you, girl. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, like they can magically end up in the middle of your house. Like, why would you go? How are you going to ghost them? Like, that's not going to work.
She's like, dust me, and he refuses to, and like she's like, fine, I'll get you all on my own then. Like, damn, cold-hearted right there.
Right.
Poor Cal. But the rest of those 2 episodes I really enjoyed. With the and then the other 2 things I liked was they're trying to get prepared for Easter. And they're supposed to reschedule Saturday, but becomes early, and they're trying to like put him to sleep, even though. So they do the planning for Easter without him knowing what they're actually doing. And then the last thing I liked was the end part, like one more. Santa and Cal are having root beer floats, which I enjoyed. The end part, the end part, like the 2 Santas are heading towards each other unknowingly, because the elves didn't fess up what was really going behind the scenes that they know about, and we had that little collision course going on. So I'm really excited what's going to happen next. These two next episodes. I think will be very anticlimactic, don't you think?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
For all this build up, it better be fucking amazing. It better be some Rambo level shit happening. Yeah.
And of course, I love the it's a jolly time of year, so I'm really enjoying this second season, and can't wait to see these two episodes we're bringing. So thank you for everybody for being here. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe as well. And yeah, we love you all, and have a very good night, and we will catch you later. Hugs, everybody.
Yeah.
If this is your first time being here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at RaquelSSG2211. Catch you later.